Yeah, if you're taking cover and there are 4 dudes in front of you that are aiming fire on, you're dead. It's just not gonna happen for you, dude. Like, you've already failed. Your target knows you're there. They're getting away on their you're done. You're done.
You're watching the helicopter fly out.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
007 First Light. Game Informer, yeah, they had about a 15-minute video where they talked to the director and some other people involved with the game, and they talked about the various aspects of the game. They talked about how the Hitman DNA contributes to it. It's still alive in there, but how they also veer away from it. One of the things that you would find in Hitman, obviously, is you're sneaking around, you're trying to be unnoticed. That's the point. But then if something happened and you got seen, you got spotted, almost always that was an end state. You know, once you got spotted, it was over. you weren't gonna beat the level anymore. There's no point.
Or you were gonna get a horrible grade.
Yeah, you blew it. So they wanted to keep the DNA because obviously there are going to be parts where you're going to be trying to do similar things, where you're trying to blend in to your surroundings and go about. But they've kind of cordoned it off and sectioned off the levels in such a way that because they also, and they made a good point, and you've made this point as well, is that a lot of James Bond is improvisation. Like, it's not like, like Hitman, where it's meticulous planning. Now, they would meticulously plan things in 007, but the beauty was that those plans almost always went awry, and Bond had to think on his feet and do something different. So they have kind of taken that, and they've sectioned off the game or different levels in such a way that now, if you are Bond and something goes wrong, they're kind of like, well, that's kind of part of the fun, is that whenever you try to do something and it does go wrong, because that happens in Bond, and now something goes wrong, do a little combat, CQC, boom, 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 take some guys out. All right, they're neutralized, continue. You know, they have it set up so that now, in certain sections, just because you failed one section doesn't mean that people on the other side of the island know that you are there. They've got it so, like, hey, I can make a mistake in the dining room, and as long as I take out everybody in the dining room, the people in the library
down the street
don't have to be aware of it. Just because you brushed by the counter and you knocked a butter knife onto the floor, that doesn't mean that you got to start all over again. So they incorporated the sort of improvisation into the level design in that way.
Here's the thing. I don't mind me deciding to start a level over because I didn't like what I did. But you're right, man. I don't like it when once you're noticed, then no matter how big the map is, you're noticed on the entire map. And they also know exactly where you are at all times, even if you break cover and find a new set of cover that they couldn't have possibly seen you go to. I think that is an awesome plan, and I think that's going to probably revolutionize some other games moving forward. I feel like this game's going to be a trendsetter, dude. I really do.
I do too.
I know we're hyping the shit out of it, but I really feel like it's going to be a trendsetter.
They also mentioned that they are really doubling down on multiple pathways, just like they've obviously done with Hitman, but they want it to be like, give you multiple means of entry. If the whole thing is like, okay, I've got to get to this room. They want to give you multiple ways to do it. And they want it to be very viable ways, but they also want it to be very rewarding, so that whenever you do get in, it almost feels like you weren't supposed to, like you broke the game. Like, I can't believe that worked.
That's cool.
You know, how great am I that I was able to do this? When in fact, that was one of the ways that they always intended for you to get in it. It's always good whenever you can do something like that and it actually feels like you outsmarted the game. There are two aspects that are completely divergent from Hitman, and that is shooting and driving. Driving, they had never done, period. Shooting in Hitman was a port of last call. That is your last resort. Shooting in Hitman was serviceable at best.
It wasn't that it was designed shitty. It was by design that you did not want to be opening up with an M4 on the lawn against a bunch of guys.
To a degree, it was unintentionally bad, just because they didn't have to focus attention on it. Hey, if you were in a shootout, you're already too far gone. You're not supposed to be here, dude. If you're gonna shoot in Hitman, it should be one bullet perched on a tower, taking out your target, and then getting out of there.
You're right. Anything with a 30-round mag and a full auto setting, you definitely did not want to be using.
If you're taking cover and there are 4 dudes in front of you that are aiming fire on, you're dead. It's just not going to happen for you, dude. Like, you've already failed. You've already Like your target knows you're there. They're getting away on their
Yeah.
helicopter. You're done. You're done. Like
You're
there's
watching
no
the
point.
helicopter fly out. Yeah.
Yeah, so they talked about how they have obviously really put a lot of focus into the combat, and because there are now levels in 007 where it's exclusively a firefight. You're not going in quiet. It is
Yeah.
designed to be a shootout mission. It's like the airport mission that we watched
Yeah. The
whenever we
airport
did
mission.
our watch along. There is no quiet way to do this. You are going in loud and you're just taking everybody out. Your whole thing is to get on that plane. So they talked about the different lessons that they learned because this had just never been an aspect that they had dealt with whenever it came to Hitman. So they said that they learned a lot. Nobody likes getting shot in the back. They had talked about how that was a lesson that they had to learn is like, okay, well, once the player gets beyond a certain point, we got to stop spawning people from this spawn point because otherwise they're just going to keep getting shot in the back and they're going to go back to take them out and you're never going to advance. You're never going to go forward.
I've always found that annoying in other games too. Like there was no reasonable reason people behind me should keep showing up.
Yes. So that was the thing they noticed. They're like, okay, we got to make it so that, okay, well, hey, for various, okay, whenever they're this many yards out, they took note of that and they changed not only the spawn points, but the way the enemies that are already out interact with you. Maybe if he's this far, they'll shoot. Okay, but if he gets this far, maybe he's now out of range. So maybe now they'll scramble and move so that then they can shoot again, tweaking those things.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, so and they talked about, which again we've seen where you can pick up a gun, unload the gun, out of bullets, throw the gun, or hit somebody with the butt of it as you let go of it. So they've really spent a lot of time on the shooting aspect. They got people from other places that was their thing. They were willing to play something and be like, "This sucks. How do we fix it?" So they were willing to fall on their face in the process of iterating and finding something good.
One of the coolest things I saw in some of that footage was the ability to take the gun out of a bad guy's hand. Normally you have to wait till they're dead and they've dropped the gun. But
the CQC looks awesome.
Yeah, to be able to, it's very Jason Bourne, to be able to hit, and Wick, like, to be able to hit the guy, pull his weapon out of his hand, then shoot him with it.
I'm very eager to see how that goes, and especially like see how, like, hey, if I'm in a room and there's 5 dudes with guns, like maybe I can be all Jason Bourne and just like take them all out without firing a shot. Who knows? As far as driving goes, that was another one where they had never done driving, not even poorly. It had just never been an aspect. There was a car that was there.
It was parked.
Yeah, you couldn't interact with it. Basically, they said that they just they sought out people that had experience. They used them, but they just started out with an aspect like, hey, let's do something. Let's iterate on that one thing until we get good at that one thing, and then we'll build out from there. So their whole thing was just find something that we can do with our limited experience in driving. Let's find one thing and let's make that one thing really good, whether it's pulling the handbrake or whatever, and then we'll build around that and slowly build out from there until we have our driving experience.
I love it when companies do this, where it's like, okay, this is our focus. We're going to make this small circle the best it can, completely flawless, and then we'll make the circle bigger. And then we're going to make that the best that we can. And then we'll, so it's just, it snowballs into this effect. But yeah, man, I think that's awesome. I think the hype for this game is absolutely deserved.
I don't think it's hyped enough. I think people should be more hyped about it than they are.
Well, unfortunately, it's unfortunate that James Bond is kind of an old guy's action hero, man. I hate to say it, but he is, man. And hopefully this is the youngest James Bond we will have ever seen on screen, whether it be movie or game.
Well, like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, is that I was kind of shocked whenever they did this, and it's like, hey, from the makers of Hitman, that just how big Hitman wasn't, where it's like, it's a huge, like, as far as cult hit goes, it's massive. It is a massive cult hit. But whenever
you have
it comes
to be accepting of the fact that you're in a cult following now. Hey,
but whenever it comes to the wider mainstream thing, maybe people may have heard of it but not played it.
Yeah,
it's just, it doesn't have as much cachet as we as fans might think that it naturally does. So I think that 007 Obviously, the property is cooled a little bit since they're no longer making movies yet. As we've been going on this process, as Amazon's acquired it and they're working on the reboot, and they haven't. Yeah, there's a lot of concerns about that.
Dread is the word you're looking for there.
But I think that if this game comes out and it proves to be the quality that we believe that it will be, that IO could finally get the flowers that they have deserved for a long time. And then whenever they make the next Hitman game, where they took Hitman, they did Hitman, they used what they learned on Hitman, and they applied that to 007, and then when they make the next Hitman game, and they apply what they learned on 007
reverse engineering
back to Hitman, and then they have the success, what I hope is success, with 007 and a new fan base, and then they look at this Hitman game, I hope that that's whenever they really hit their stride on Hitman, and then it's just going to be this thing of back and forth. Hey, what we learned on here, then we go back to the sequel on 007, and then boom, 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 just back and forth.
How cool would it be to have a Hitman contract where you do a drive-by assassination of a guy? Because now we can drive, right? So
yes. That opens up, if they apply those things that they learned to Hitman, that opens up Hitman levels to an insane degree.
Well, not to mention just the sheer ability to go have your handler go, hey, we can do this quiet, or man, we can go in guns a-blazing. The rules of engagement here are open. You can leave everybody at this place dead.
or if it's a thing where it's like, okay, you got caught, you didn't stay quiet. Okay, well maybe now being caught and getting in a gunfight isn't a fail state. Maybe it's like, okay, maybe like,
it changes the mission parameter.
Exactly. Like, hey, your target, they're aware that you're there. They've gotten in their car. Okay, let me shoot my way through the dining room, and I'll get in a different car, and I'll chase him down, and I'll shoot at him from my car.
Or a helicopter.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, this is one thing at a time. But anyways, like
I want to fly helicopter.
They could certainly, I could certainly see all kinds of scenarios where they could take what they do here, apply it to Hitman, and dude, we could have just this awesome back and forth of the same team basically trying to like outdo themselves every game.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I think to use the corporate buzzword of synergy, I think the synergy between those two teams trying to outdo each other could make for some amazing games.
Well, me too. So it remains number one on our most anticipated games list.
I must speak to you adieu.